Hi, welcome back to West Coast Geeks. I'm your host, Joaquin. How we doing, people? Today's video is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons: The Rogues Gallery. So, my boy Eric, we couldn't get together this week, so we're not able to record the multi-class, but hopefully next week we'll be able to. So, I did drop a short G2, just a 1 minute, just hey, this is what this adventure is about. In like less than a minute. You get the picture. So, Rogues Gallery. This is my original copy, and I regret taking a hole puncher through it because I'm pretty sure it doesn't come that way. But maybe it did. I don't know. It's been so long. But this is the original copy I have, and you're gonna see because I colored through it and marker. So yeah, people, you're gonna see what 10-year-old Joaquin did to the Rogues Gallery. So, what was the purpose of the Rogues Gallery? So, the Rogues Gallery was supposed to be, is not supposed to, is a supplement to help dungeon masters if they need stats for an NPC or maybe even a quick villain or just for people to characters to interact. Or in some cases, like they have stats for monsters, and we're going to get into that. So, what was unique about the Rogues Gallery that they didn't in future book publications, because I've got the next one too. I think it's called the Shady Inn or Shady Dragon Inn, where I love the artwork. And this is just going over the stats. We got the roper, but so you just rolled a dice and they gave you the stats, and I'm just going to go across it really quick. There was race, sex, alignment, strengths, all your stats like that. Hit points, AC. They even had a chart for like henchmen if you were higher enough, and MI magical items, and they gave you codes. You know, cleric. I'm gonna keep switching it back and forth just to show you the artwork, but they had clerics. Now here's the thing that I at the time, even when I was a kid, I was like, man, I wish they would have like put more illustrations in the book with all the classes. I thought would be cool. So we got the druid. And as you can see, all the little spots there is young Joaquin learning to what were supposed to be highlights at the time didn't come across that well. All right, so what I've always loved about this art is, I mean, on top of the mind flayer just getting rushed upon, is that this druid's like casting like insect plague. There's a plague spell, and I just thought that was cool as a kid. I look back on it now, and I'm still impressed. It's just a simple gesture style, but it works. And, once you add color to it, it's even better. So we go through the fighters, nothing special. Do it better that way. So we have the illusionist, and the illusionist always did love this artwork. In fact, I am going to create a picture of this exact the same way. I'm just gonna, paint it. The only difference. So we got our mages. Now here, I never got to finish it. All I did was just barely even start to highlight his shoes. I always thought this pose was crazy. And so apparently this monk at the last second steps in to grab this like hooligan or maybe a thief from backstabbing somebody. But the guy's got his neck turned around like an owl. I think too far actually. But yeah, To me, it just looked like I don't know, some psychedelic dude just tripping, and I don't know. It reeks of disco between the way he's dressed and the little bell bottoms that the thief's wearing. You can definitely tell that this artist liked the 70s. And we got multi-class characters, and they did address that in the stats. Like, I'm not going to go over the stats, but I just want this to be a quick video. Plus, I want to save the majority of the time for what they did in the back. Now, this picture right here, I would draw, I don't know, 20, 30 times as a kid. I just love this pose of this paladin. And for the life of me, I could never figure out what this was. I remember one person said it was a dragon. I was like, this don't look like no damn dragon. It looks like some kind of like, I don't know, some huge insect or something. It just looks weird. So if anybody knew in the description of what this creature was, please leave a comment below. And I gotta say, for 10-year-old Joaquin, pretty good on shading this in. Except for the still blotches. Man, gotta get better, little Joaquin. Alright. The Ranger. Oh, this is so cool. I love this picture. This is what I always pictured as, like a ranger just in the woods, fighting creatures, protecting people. So the Rangers had like all these cool abilities, and they could have pets, just like the Druids, but they were fighters. So, you know, either way, Owlbear, Ranger, there you go. And that was the last picture for the races or the character classes. Then they gave you a whole stat on sages and what they knew. So I thought that was kind of helpful because they would tell you what they specialized, like the major. I'm just reading one that says demi-human, psychology, sociology, demography, graphy, something. You know, I can't read. Minor, physical, universe, you know, human, mankind, which is weird because they put HU and then mankind. It's like, okay, whatever. Next under there, they have 0 characters. So this is just something that, this is a cool little supplement that I actually used a lot while I was playing. If you like rolled up like a random chart and they said a caravan, this would break down what a caravan was for you. 21 merchants, 21 drovers, how many wagons and mules, 6 mercenary leaders or level. P, I believe, stands for like a potion. Second level fighters, they had 12. So this caravan had 230 mercenary guards. Unit 1, 17. Unit 2, 34. So this is just supposed to add like flavor tech and to discourage some of the murder hobos from attacking them. We have city guard, city watch, border patrols, same thing. They give stats and numbers. Real quick, city guard number 1, 4th level fighter, 3rd level fighter, has an M. One third level magic user, a couple of magical items, and 12 mercenary items. We had a list for pilgrims. We had day, night watch, border patrols. And then the pilgrims, those are another big groups of like large. And then we had bandits, which were pretty cool, depending on what your party level was. You know, they have 199 bandits. We have 52 bandits. You know, they give you the level of the horses. So you just, you know, you didn't have to think about it. You just rolled up some charts and looked at some things and be like, oh, okay, cool. And then you based it on, you know, your party's level, like how many of these bandits they would face. Same thing with buccaneers on the time that they would be fighting like a ship encounter and they get up close. So on those type of battles, usually what you had is you would have them fight a small group, and if they beat that small group, that determined the outcome of the final battle. At least that's how that's how I used to do it. And actually I still do. up to a sense where if the players lose, then the whole ship falls. But if they win, then they're able to turn the tide, and they're the heroes. Next up, they give some random stats for Aquato, Kyren, and Shidu. Pretty sure I pronounced that right. So a lot of times, and sometimes in the monster manual, they just said they have certain spells and so many, where this just breaks it down for you really quick, so you don't have to go and think about what spells or psychic abilities for the Shidu, or I mean for the Kyren. Liches actually did one for liches. So they have a couple of lich options. And also, these are pretty good examples. So if you do want to create your own lich, you can see what types of spells they had. Nowadays, if I were going to create a lich, I would start with um, who they were in the prior past. Not get too in depth into it, but think about who was this lich, what was his name, how did he or she become a lich, or why, and then take it from there. Like, did they always want to be a necromancer, or did they become a necromancer later? So that could also add to the flavor of spells they would have, and you could sprinkle in other spells that they normally wouldn't associate with a lich, with being all combat and stuff. So next up is dungeon party. So back in first edition, it was pretty big to like bump into another dungeon party. Like you would sometimes have that, excuse me, in like random um, wandering monster charts. And so this chart would let sometimes you would get alignment I'm looking at is lawful good, and the other ones are neutral evil, chaotic, or lawful evil. But they wouldn't be like, "Hey, we're evil." They would just be like, "Oh, we're just like you. What are you looking for?" And then they lie, and then maybe they attack them later, or maybe they leave them alone. You know. All right, up next, still dungeon parties. Dungeon parties. Now, this was my favorite part of the book. It's called personalities, and so these were the characters in Gary Gygax's campaign and his friends, and so they actually list it. Um, Tim, I'm not even trying to pronounce his last name, but he played a excuse me, a fighter named Arata, and we didn't really hear any much about him. People have heard of Big B. Now it's Gary Gygax's character. Um, Mage, very famous mage. You get a lot of spells like Big Beast Crushing Hand. Another player says Gene Wells, and they played. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Trodadar, something Norseman. So it was a chaotic neutral fighter, and so you can see some of the characters down there. And then Fletcher was Bob. I'm not going to butcher your last name. And so they gave you like background. So who's interesting out of this group? Okay, so Fletcher has been a wanderer all his life, seldom staying in one area for more than one or two adventures. Originally serving as a mercenary in many different lands, he gained a reputation as a heartless adversary, and this ruthless side of the character remained as he matured. He constantly keeps an eye on the future and will sometimes act in ways that seem out of keeping with his character. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but as a kid, I looked at this and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." You're developing a backstory, and my DM would showed me this because he had the book first. And sometimes when our characters died, he would just say, "Pick a class," and we pick a class, and he just have us roll it, and then he would adjust the level, and then he would roll on random charts appropriate to give us some magical items starting, and we just jump back in the game. All right, Eric's cousin, played by Ernie Gygax. I found this person to be very interesting. The person up on top. This mysterious figure who has never revealed his true name, you know, was once a lawful good magic user, now an edgelord. However, an unknown insanity overtook him, and he slew all his henchmen and companions. Like I said, edgelord, stealing their goods. The first murder hobo. After this, he left off being a magic user and began anew as a fighter, eventually to become a double class human magic user fighter. Eric's cousin is thoroughly evil, having made a pact with Beelzebub. In exchange for his soul for those he slays, Beelzebub has agreed to make him a major devil of Eric's cousin when he dies. He is, however, afraid of death, and if there's any mean to prevent a delay, i.e., wish potion of longevity, he will try to obtain it. So, as I'm reading through this, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. These are interesting backstories. Grimslade, played by Harold Johnson, um, a neutral magic user who Grimslade is a strong believer in free will and is customarily refused to accept orders or suggestions from other party members. I'm leaving so I can see it. Can't see it through the screen. So these were good examples for certain players to like base their characters off of. We got a Greg Fleming played this thief, who I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, and he was a halfling thief, and that was pretty much it. Who just avoided combat. Where you had Lawrence I'm not. Yeah, I'm not gonna try to say the Shithwick. I'm gonna go with that. Plays this chaotic evil fighter magic user, which you see both the characters because the halflings on top and the magic user fighters in the bottom. And so he's a smooth talking, slick, and unscrupulous. He uses others for his own ends, but in that way leaves them to believe it was all their own benefit. So I'm just like cherry picking some things real quick because this video's already getting long. All right. So we have this player named Luther, who I thought was cool. I actually got to... No, it wasn't Luther. It's the other player down below. So then we had Mordenkainen, another Gary Gygax, who's a very famous wizard by now. You should all know. And then Phobius, played by Jeff R. Leeson. This is why I wanted to play a Lizardman character. And every now and then, if I got a chance to, I'd play a Lizardman fighter because of this drawing. I just thought he looked so cool. He was, very imposing, and he has a special ability where if he can make a bloodkin bond with somebody, he had this trident. I mean, he just looks cool. So even back then, they were showing you in first edition, like it's your own game. Yeah, we got these rule books, and we're telling you can only do this, you can only do that, but these are guidelines, and make the campaign your own. You can play a centaur, Robilar. He's a famous fighter who got into a lot of trouble. Rigby, played by Gary Gygax. He played a lot of wizards. Certain Ernie Gygax. There are some references to him later on, but not much. Dave Cook played a centaur who was brought back by resurrection. Tensor is Ernie Gygax. So these are all different mages, and you got to see their starts and generally what their personality started out as. And we're going to wrap this up, people. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you made it this far, hit the like button. Leave a comment below. Tell me if you had this product when it came out. Did you enjoy it? What were your favorite parts? And most important, who is your favorite character? So for me, besides the lizard, it's this dude right here, played by Earl Otis. Valerius. So Valerius is an independent-minded man, a trait which causes his distractors to consider him a renegade. He has rejected the ideal of building a castle, considering an exercise in foolish futility. Now he spends his time constantly traveling, never staying in a single area for more than one adventure. He travels light, disdaining armor and encumbering items, preferring to depend on few magical devices and his own skills. I'm not going to go into all of him, but he has bracers of blinding strike, and on top of AC 4, they give him some other abilities. He has a sword of skewing, and a +2 ring of protection. So he's a duelist, and he has a ring of vampire or vampiric regeneration, which I believe when he hits whatever he hits a living, it can't be like undead. Whatever damage he does, he regenerates. So it's actually better than regeneration, and it's actually a rarer form of ring regeneration. So that's it, people. Rogues Gallery, the first just quick NPC booklet that came out. Next, when I have a chance, when my boy Eric and I can't hook up, do a video. I'll do the next one, which is the Shady Dragon Inn, and then I'll show you how that has evolved into more character depth, and showing the history and what these characters are, to help the DM give more flavor to everybody, to the characters they're creating. And there you go. So with that, people, take care and have a good weekend.